So the Indiana Pacers have a very solid future now, adding in pieces like Tyrese Halliburton and Chris Duarte, and hopefully a top 5 pick, which can boost their rebuild by a ton. And they've acquired some great pieces, and especially in the 2021 NBA draft with their rookie Isaiah Jackson, who's going to be the focus of this video. He's been one of the best players for the Pacers, and he's definitely been an underrated rookie this year. I mean, if you talk about the best rookies right now, Cade Cunningham, obviously, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, even Jalen Green. I mean, Franz Wagner too, Josh Giddey, but nobody really mentions Isaiah Jackson because he's been pretty underrated, and what he's been able to do, especially in the second half of the season, he's been pretty amazing. And on both ends of the floor, he's a very high impact player. And not only that, he can play some great interior defense and provide some good 3-point shooting. And I think the Pacers definitely got a hidden gem at 22, and Jackson looks to be part of the Pacers' full rebuild. And in today's video, we're going to talk about Isaiah Jackson's game and his future moving on with the Indiana Pacers. So what's up? My name is Pacers Empire. If you like the video, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. We are trying to grow this channel out to other Pacers fans, so I'd appreciate it if you guys drop a like and sub to the channel. So let's get into it. So if you didn't know who Isaiah Jackson was, he is a 6'10 forward weighing in at around 205 pounds, meaning he can run both the center and the power forward positions. And Jackson this season, he's actually averaging around 8 points per game, 4 rebounds, and also 1.4 blocks per game too, which is pretty impressive for a rookie that isn't, that didn't go in the top 5. I mean, Evan Mobley, I think he led the rookies in blocks per game too, but he went in the top 4. I mean, top 3 going to the Cavs. But Isaiah Jackson averaging 1.4 blocks, going at 22. Pretty underrated right there too. On the defensive end, he's been pretty amazing too, as he can hold his own in the paint while also being able to block shots at a high level. And adding him alongside Miles Turner, I think we're talking about probably one of the more underrated front courts we've seen in a while defensively. Miles Turner obviously being a good 3-and-D center, but also I think he could run the pick and roll pretty decently. Now, Isaiah Jackson, I think he's a little bit more athletic than Miles Turner is, but he is shorter, so shorter wingspan I think too. But Isaiah Jackson, I mean, he has a lot to prove, and I think he has a high ceiling, and with his abilities, I think he could be a good center/forward in this league to come. And over the season, he's actually shooting around 56% from the field and 31% from 3. He isn't afraid to take shots and has shown the ability to knock down the occasional 3, which gives the offense more space. With Tyrese Halliburton running the offense and looking for some shooters, I think if they surround Halliburton with more shooters, Chris Duarte, Miles Turner, Isaiah Jackson, even like TJ Warren if he decides to come back, I think it's going to be a good offense, and it could be kind of like the Rockets offense with James Harden, but I think a little bit better because now Miles Turner is here, a good center, a good defensive-minded center that can hit the 3. Isaiah Jackson, same thing there. And then overall, I mean, the offense is going to be run by Tyrese having a good playmaking ability while also being able to score at a high level. So I think the idea of Miles Turner and Isaiah Jackson in the front court is actually pretty enticing, and I definitely would like to see some more lineups like this in the starting lineup next season with Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle, I think he's done a pretty okay job with this Pacers team, nothing too amazing, but I think he could be here for the long run. And if the Pacers are going to be contending next season, which I hope they are, with hopefully a top 5 pick, I think they could go pretty far. So Isaiah Jackson's role moving forward is most likely either at the 4 or playing the backup 5 behind Miles Turner. In my opinion, I think it all depends on who the Pacers decide to bring back in the offseason or who they decide to at least sign. I mean, if they bring back Jalen Smith and TJ Warren, I think he moves to the bench, Isaiah Jackson. But if they don't bring back either, I think Jalen Smith, if he doesn't come back, Isaiah Jackson probably slots into the 4. And then if TJ Warren doesn't come back, I think he could probably slot in at the 3. It's kind of a stretch right there. I mean, Lauri Markkanen of the Cavs, he's definitely made it work, I guess, but it'd definitely be pretty interesting to see a basically lineup of Isaiah Jackson, Smith, and Miles Turner, and I think that'd be pretty interesting. I don't think it'd work out too well, but we could experiment and see what happens there. So we also got to take into account that Goga Bitadze is also on the team too. He's around like 22 years old, so pretty young still. He's also showed out in the second half of the season, which doesn't really help Isaiah Jackson's case at all. I mean, Jackson, I think he definitely has a higher ceiling compared to Goga, and he has more athletic abilities on both ends. I just think that Goga has a bigger body frame than him, and his offense is honestly a little bit better than Isaiah Jackson. I mean, looking at the last few games of the season, Goga Bitadze, he's been going off and he's been dropping like 20 and 10 games sometimes, and overall he's been pretty underrated for this team. I think Isaiah Jackson and Goga Bitadze could coexist on the roster. I think it's just a matter of how Rick Carlisle plays both of them, and if they decide to keep both, I mean, they could look to trade Goga with his value being pretty high. I want to say, I wouldn't say like at a high level his value, but I'd say it's pretty average, above average, around there. So of course, with every rookie there are some downsides to his game. First off, his injury history, and this season alone he only played around 36 out of the 80 games this season, which is pretty bad to say the least. That isn't even 50%. So he's been up and down this season in terms of availability, but when he's been healthy, he can actually provide this team some great offense and defense. Like I said, the one huge downside to whenever he plays is his foul trouble. I mean, every game, I mean, he's basically in foul trouble, which is pretty alarming. And honestly, some games he's going to be fouling out. Kind of like Alperen Şengün of the Houston Rockets. They are both kind of in a similar position to where both of them are fouling pretty heavily, but are playing at a pretty great level. I think anytime in the offseason, they can just work on not fouling too much, work out with some trainers, get their body conditioned. And I think Isaiah Jackson, he can be a good, I don't even know, I mean, a good pick and roll big for the Pacers. I'm not too sure what his role is going to be on this team. I mean, if we look at their overall roster right now, I think Chris Duarte and Tyrese Halliburton are going to be the main guys on this team. Miles Turner going to be a third scoring option at best on this team, but still a pretty valuable piece on this team. And Isaiah Jackson, I think if he shows out next season, has a breakout season, maybe like 12 and 10 or maybe like 12, 8 and 2 blocks, I think he's going to have a role on this team, and probably a role player at that, because I don't think he's going to be overplaying Miles Turner. Now, if the Pacers do decide to trade Miles Turner for some more draft capital or some more young pieces, I think Isaiah Jackson probably slots into the 5. So I'm not too sure what the Pacers are going to be doing with Isaiah Jackson moving forward, but I think it should be good with him only being around 20 years old, and I think he definitely fits in with the time frame. Let me guys know what you guys think about Isaiah Jackson. Is he a hidden gem, or is he going to be traded pretty soon in the near future? So hopefully Isaiah Jackson's here for the young core. Hopefully he's a part of the future, and go Pacers. That's the video. My name is Pacers Empire, and my peace.